My name is Jeff St Laurent. This is the Tuesday Live show, and today's topic is setting up and using your email list. So this is a huge topic because at the end of the day, our business is our audience. And not only do we need to build an audience, but we got to stay in front of that audience, and we must use an email list in order to do that. We've got social media. There's a lot of other ways of doing it, but I'm going to explain why that's so vital and important. This is the Tuesday Live show. I do record all of these, and I put them on my website in my university. So my website is sellingcoaching.com. Check out the university. That's where I have all of my resources. And additionally, right on the homepage at sellingcoaching.com, I have a fantastic resource called the Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. So you can go check that out at sellingcoaching.com. If you're watching this live right now, I pasted that in the link already. So you have access to my website. You also have access to the university, and you have access to the free offer there, that great resource. So just enter your name and email. And what that does is not only gets you the resource, but it also puts you on my email community, which is a great topic for today because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And the reason why I want you on there is because I want you to see how I utilize my email list to stay in connection with my people like yourself and develop relationships, etc., which is what you deserve to be doing with your audience, which I'm going to go over today. So with that being said, check that out, sellingcoaching.com. I got the resources there. Also, right at the top of the page, I have a private Facebook group, which is linked to, if you're here right now watching this live, right on my fan page, Selling Coaching, you'll see that I have a linked group there, so you can check out my private Facebook group. Right now, we're doing a challenge, which is called Make Some Noise. And is a 10-week challenge from the day you enter it, and is basically challenging you to create one Facebook Live broadcast a week for 10 weeks for a total of 10. So it's helping you speak your message and develop consistency. Fantastic platform. So definitely check that out. We got some people loading in and ready to launch for the live call, this live show. So let's jump right into this. And today is all about your email list and how to set it up, how to use it. And so one of the first things I just want to start off with is just starting to give you a feel for why the email list. And you might have heard different things before, but as I started to say in the beginning, it's so important that we have our email community, because at the end of the day, we have a product or a service, I like to say, coaching, and that's our flagship product, right? You might have a book, you might have courses that you say things, you might do workshops, there might be other things down the road, etc. But our flagship and core product was always going to be our coaching services, right? And so with that being said, in order for people to hire us as their coach, we need to develop a relationship with them. We need to allow them to know who we are, how we can help them. They need to feel understood. They need to feel trusted. And in order to do that, it's vitally important that they get to know us. And when I say how we can help them, it's not like, oh, we're sitting here talking about our coaching. Right? I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about my mentor coaching and how I can help you as a mentor coach. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to role model that through the education and that I put out there, and through my emails and through my live events just like this. Right? So I want to make you aware that I'm available, if you will, for you to hire me as your mentor coach. But I'm not going to talk all about that. So when I say you're making people aware of how you can help them, it's not that we're pushing coaching specifically, rather for the fact that is that we're, through our education that we put out there on a weekly basis, via our email, via live events like this, or anything else that you do, posts, podcasts, webinars, calls, things like that. What happens is they begin to know you, they begin to trust you, they begin to like you, and that develops a relationship for them hiring you down the road. So it's so vitally important that we do that. And that's a foundation of what we do. And so with that, of course, I always relate this back to selling, right? Because at the end of the day, if we have a product to sell like coaching, we have to understand the selling aspect of it. That's why, as I help coaches transition to a full-time business, I always relate everything back to selling, because this is how we get paid for this. And so with selling, there's two components. There's the need that someone has that we want to identify, and that's what they're going through, that they're challenged with, they're having struggles with, right, their problem, so to speak. And there's the timing of that need. So they might want to go after X. Great, but why now? That's so important. And so because everyone's timing is different, meaning I might have a challenge that I'm going after, but because whatever reason in my life is going on, it might not be the right time for me to go after it. So with that being said, the timing's never right exactly right now. So in other words, that's why you could do an event and speak in front of 10 people. They all might really love what you do, but maybe you get 1 or 2 clients out of it. Well, the other, let's say 8 or so people, doesn't mean that they couldn't have used you as a coach, but the timing just might not have been right to invest in themselves or go after it at that level. Because we have to recognize and remember, coaching it's a commitment. It's not just a financial commitment. It's bigger than that. That's why it's never about the money. It's always bigger than the financial commitment. It's about where I'm at in my life right now, where I really want to go after it. Because people have got to work through a lot of crap in order to get it. Especially if you're life coaching, even at me as a mentor coach, it's the timing's got to be right for someone to really pursue their business, because they might want it. I speak to a lot of coaches on a regular basis that want to go after their business. They have the greatest intentions to go after their business, but that timing's just not right for a multitude of reasons. So in order to assess that timing, it's now for some people, but what about all those other people? So this is where our email list comes in. So in other words, we, with all those people, but especially the ones that haven't hired us yet, as I can say, with those people, we have to remember that we have to stay in front of them. We have to be top of mind. And so we have to be top of mind each and every week, not just once a week or once a month. It's each and every week, multiple times a week. And when we're top of mind through email, that ensures that when, let's say, the timing is right, that we're there. So for instance, let's say I'm doing something right. So I'm doing my live event right now, and someone's joining in, someone's watching, right? And they're a coach just like yourself, and they're going through some things and they're wanting to do their business, right? And so it's like, oh, geez, you know what? This is great stuff that Jeff's doing. And so they like what I'm doing. They like my information. And let's say, like I said in the pin post that I've already put on there, or my website, sellingcoaching.com, let's say you signed up for my ultimate startup guide for new coaches. So you got in that, you entered your name and email address. So now you're not only get those great resources, but you get my emails. So now you're on my email list. And every week, like I email my audience on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Doesn't mean I don't do anything the other days, but those are my standard days that I'm committing to stay in front of people 3 times a week. And then in addition to that, if something compelling comes up, or maybe I'm promoting something or whatever it is, something special is going on, I might send an additional email or 2 at the most. But that's how I stay in front of my audience. So let's say you did that. And so right now you like my information, you watch some of these live shows, you go to my university on sellingcoaching.com and you watch some of my, or listen to some of my education, you're like, wow, Jeff's really helpful, etc. But you might want to work with me, but now's not the right time because whatever, maybe it's just summertime and you want to be in summer mode and you're not ready to commit at that level. That's fine. But I stay in front of you. So I'm in front of you each and every week, 3 times a week. And maybe you tune into one of my live shows. Maybe you watch something. Maybe you just delete everything because you got something going on. But then all of a sudden, let's say it's October, right? And all of a sudden I send you an email for, like, let's say a topic of my next live show. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this topic is speaking to you. And not only that, but summer's done, the kids are back in school, etc. And now all of a sudden your coaching business is just sitting there waiting you in the face, staring at you, going, oh my God, what are you going to do with me? You gonna do this? And so all of a sudden my email comes in, I'm top of mind, the topic's relevant. All of a sudden you tune into a live show and next thing you know, you're like, you know what? I got to reach out to Jeff. I've got to do this. I need some help. He's the man that can help me. That's called timing. So you've always had the need, but I was in front of you. That's the whole point is with my email community and with my emails that I'm sending out every week, I was in front of you and I was top of mind. And therefore, when the timing was right, guess what? You're like, oh my God, I got to reach out to Jeff. Boom. So you went to the work with me page on sellingcoaching.com. You filled out the form at the bottom. And then the next thing you know, I followed up with you and you became my client, right? So that's how it works. And so if you didn't have your email list and you don't have those constant points of follow-up on a weekly basis. In other words, you're not top of mind. What happens is people forget about you. Hopefully you're not forgettable. Hopefully you're memorable. But regardless, you're not in front of people all the time. And so what happens is that same person, you, who watched this live show that's like, wow, that likes this stuff. I didn't have a free offer. I didn't have free resources. I didn't tell you to go to my website and any of that stuff. Let's just say I was just delivering some great content. And maybe I helped you out, but you didn't get on my email list as an example. So then what happens is, you know what? Maybe you see me, maybe you don't. But life takes over. You go back to your summer mode, so to speak, for this example. And next thing you know, that same thing happens. Let's say it's October again and the timing's right. Guess what? there's plenty of other coaches out there, right, that are sponsoring ads on Facebook and so forth and so on that I'm sure you have your radar on, because that's what you do as a coach, right? You subscribe to 100 different, email lists, and everyone's top of mind but me if I don't have that, right? And so what happens is come October, when the timing's right, someone else sends you the email, and someone else sends you that email with a relevant topic, and boom, next thing you know, you're on the phone with them and you hire them. So why didn't you hire me versus hiring them? Guess what? I wasn't top of mind, all because I'm not sending emails. And so the same scenario works for you, is that you've got to be top of mind. So why that email list? It's really so we can, how about this, build those relationships, but now we have ongoing business, because if you don't have that and those touch points, you're only as good as your last event. So in other words, you do a live event via Facebook like this, or maybe you do a live face-to-face speaking engagement, for the example I gave at the beginning, and you speak to 10 people, right? And I said that the timing was good for, let's say, 2 of them of the 10, and so you got a couple clients. That's great, but what about those other 8 people, right? So maybe they, like I said, they really liked you, but the timing wasn't right to hire you, right? So what happens is they go away, and they forget about you, right? So you're not in front of those people, whereas now you're only as good as your last event. So you know what? You got the couple clients. But then, okay, well, you got to have your next event, right? You got to have your next event. Otherwise, you're not going to be in front of any people. So those other 8 people go away, versus when you have your email community, is those 8 people, or at least a good portion of them, ideally would get on your email list and be in front of them. So at some point later on down the road, guess what? The timing's right for another one of those people, another one of those people. So now what you're doing is not only you're staying in front of these people, but you're leveraging your initial efforts, right? So if I didn't have an email community and I wasn't emailing these people on a regular basis, this live event, when I do these live events, as you would imagine, some people tune in for the first time, or they find me for the first time, whether it's this live event or the recording. They find me on YouTube, they find me on website, they find me wherever, right? And as you see in the beginning and throughout this, I talk about my startup guide. I talk about my resources, right? So people inevitably go and they sign up. So they sign up, and that's great. So now I'm in front of them, right? So now what's happening is I'm leveraging my efforts is every time I do this, not only live, but with the recordings, etc., and my emails, I'm staying in front of those people. So this is why it's so important for you to do this. And another big reason is we can't rely on social media. So obviously I have a social media presence. I also, like I mentioned, my private Facebook group. Like I said, if you went to sellingcoaching.com, right at the top of the page, there's a button that can take you right over to there. But like with that, et cetera, I've got over, let's say, 1,800 coaches in there as well. So if I just relied on that for my communication, well, what if Facebook changes, right? What if you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, and you've got all these connections, all these people that are following you. But what if they change their format? What if they, when I say go out of business, right? I mean, Facebook, I believe, is not going anywhere, hopefully. But the point is that, Facebook's had some ups and downs over the last, several months, if you follow their stock at all. But the point is that they've had a lot of ups and downs. Now, they've ingrained themselves as such a part of society now that I think it would be impossible for them to go anywhere, but you never know. Let's say they just go somewhere. Next thing you know, Facebook's gone. Well, what happened to all those people that you had in your group, et cetera? They're gone. So you can't rely on social media. Even in the last 5 or 6 years or so, there's been some different social media platforms, different things that have come up that were like the hottest things in the world, but that are gone now, right? They didn't survive. So you've got to make sure you have ownership over your people. When I say ownership, email, you don't own their email, so to speak, but I mean, they can opt out at any time. But the point is that you can communicate with them on demand, and you've got to be able to communicate with your people on demand via your email list. So in terms of actually setting up your email list, you're going to need an email platform to set that up with. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paste in there my recommendation, and that is something called Aweber, and I pasted a link in there. And my link that I share there, it's jsl.aweber.com. And yes, that's an affiliate link. I'll talk about that in a second and the importance of that in your business. But the point is the reason I recommend Aweber is because there's different other platforms out there. There's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact, there's literally hundreds of others. But the reason I recommend Aweber specifically is just because it's a great user-friendly platform, easy to use. Had a lot of clients and myself that have used other platforms, just not as user-friendly, but more importantly than just user-friendly and ease of learning, huge customer service. Like you call them, you get people right away. They walk you through anything. That's why I always recommend that to my clients, because I know that they need guidance. So obviously I can guide them, but also if you're not using me as a mentor coach, or even if you were, the customer service support is huge there. So that's why I really recommend that. And then also in terms of the back end, the deliverability, the emails, the use of the campaigns, the back-end statistics, et cetera, the integration with other platforms, whether it be how you get paid or your website for the sign-up forms, et cetera. So that's why I recommend Aweber. So with that being said, you can click that link. And of course, I'm an affiliate of that. And the reason I promote that and I say, hey, use my link, or when you sign up, let them know that Jeff St. Laurent referred you, because those I get, the small little residuals, if you will, from those links. And that's important in our business, because you have to remember, if you're recommending things to people, or you have give people different resources, it's important that if you have something that you recommend, find out if they have an affiliate program. That's a little aside, but that's an important thing. It's like if I'm referring people to something all the time that I believe in, it's like, great, that's just another benefit to it, right? And that starts to create multiple streams of income into our business. And yeah, you know what? It's not much at the end of the day, but you know what? If it's a few bucks here and there, it all adds up. So it's an important piece to it. But regardless of that, that's why you use Aweber, and how you use a platform like that, and why you need a platform like that versus, like, well, you might say, well, Jeff, I got Gmail, or I've got my Outlook or whatever, is as even if your email list is small to begin, usually most people start off with friends and family, right? You can't be sending bulk emails, even if you got 50 people on your email list, right? And it's just friends and family. Once you start getting over a certain number, it's not going to allow you to send to large groups, at least on a consistent basis. So you're going to need something like an Aweber, as an example, to send to larger groups. And not only is that going to increase its deliverability, preventing it from going to spam, preventing it from being bounced, et cetera, but you're also going to have some back-end statistics, which means that once you send an email, you can look on the back end to see who's opened the email, who's actually clicked through in any links. I'm not going to go into it now, but that's going to help out with some back-end marketing down the road. This is some of the advanced stuff I do with my one-on-one mentoring clients when people hire me, and teaching them how to convert their clients or people into paid leads and to paying clients through that back-end stuff when you send your emails. But regardless of that, it's going to give you that ability. It's also going to give you the ability to have a sign-up form on your website. So there's a great example, like I talk about, if you go to sellingcoaching.com, right on that homepage where I kind of bribe you with my dog, right? And I say, grab the free gift and the dog is yours. So that sign-up form where you actually enter your name and email address, when you do that, that information goes on to a list that I have in Aweber, as an example. In addition, not only does that keep your information, but then Aweber is going to automatically send you an email. You might have heard it called as an autoresponder, or Aweber calls it a follow-up series. So it's going to send you an email that I've already pre-written, and in that email is going to have the link to my free resource. That's how we set that up using that platform of Aweber, right? So that's why it's so important to have this, and we need this. So it's going to send that up. So Aweber does a lot of different things. In addition, what I use Aweber for is every week when you receive my emails, when you're on my email community, I actually send them from Aweber. So I send those broadcasts. So it's one of the foundational things that we have in our business. It's one of the number one things that we need unequivocally, that we need to actually pay for on a monthly basis. And starting off, I think if for under 500 or less subscribers, for having everything, it's $19 a month, I believe, to start off with. And obviously, as you get more and more subscribers and reach different thresholds, the per month cost goes up. But all of them, all the different platforms are roughly the same in cost. And some people like to use a platform called MailChimp, and they say, oh, it's great because it's free under 500 subscribers. But the reality is when you use the features that we need to use right from the beginning, you have to actually pay for it anyways. And on top of that, the free version, it doesn't have customer support, and the platform just isn't as friendly. So that's why, like I said, I steer you towards Aweber. So with that being said, that's kind of the reason why we need a platform like that and how we start to utilize that. Right, so I was saying I can't go into the specifics on how to set all that stuff up. That's what I do when I work with people as a mentor coach. And obviously you can use Aweber as a customer support if you need some specific help on setting some of those things up. But we use that for the sign-up form, so you have it on a website. You can also use the sign-up form for any of your social media platforms. So like right on my you're watching this live video right now, if you're watching that from my Selling Coaching fan page, if you go over to the left side, not now, but after this broadcast is done, if you go over to the side, you'll see like, I think it's called email or email list. I'm not exactly sure exactly what it's called, but you'll see that there. You can actually see a sign-up form, and that comes directly from Aweber. If you go to sellingcoaching.com, my sign-up form, you actually, like I said, the name and email address, that comes from Aweber as an example. So that's what we need to set that up and send our emails. So once you've got that all set up and integrated, right? So now you've got lead capture, right? So you can not only have it on your website, you can have it on social media posts, on any platform, for instance, with those sign-up forms, like I said, you can create from Aweber. You can and have a link. So let's say you're on LinkedIn and you write an article, a LinkedIn article, and at the end you want to say, have a lead capture. So yes, you could drive them to your website as an example, but let's say like I have clients right now that I'm working with that they don't have a website. Maybe they're not ready for it, number one, and maybe two, it's just like, just investment wise, it's just like, they invested in me, they're investing some other things. It's just, they don't have the capital for that. So starting off, maybe using a Facebook page, like the one I'm broadcasting live from, to start acting as their website, right? Or another social media platform. So you write a LinkedIn article as an example, and you want to have lead capture. So at the end, you can take a link from Aweber, which is a link to that sign-up form, and you can put it at the end of that actual article that you do. So at the end, you can say, hey, click the link below to receive your free resource called The Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. We'll click the link to enter your name and email, and you'll receive your copy now. They'll click that link, a new window will open up, and it will have the sign-up form. They enter the email right from there. It goes right into Aweber. Aweber sends the form. Not only now are they on your community, but they can have your free resource as well. So that's how you, with all the details, that's kind of like what you need and how you set it up, and obviously the premise of why we do it in the first place. And those are some of the main things that I really wanted to get across to you is how to set, why we have an email list and how to set it up and how to use it. And then obviously once you've set that up, then in your marketing endeavors, not only are you getting more and more people onto your email community through, let's say, social media, online endeavors, or let's say face-to-face live events, right? Because even from live events, if I'm speaking live in front of 10 people as an example, you can still have that, a free resource, or maybe you just have a sign-in sheet, but just letting people know that, hey, I want to put you on my email community, et cetera, until you get those people on and you build your list from there. And the more important thing is having some type of communication with them on a weekly basis. And depending on your list and who it is, some people initially when they start with friends and family, they might want to just start with maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. But once you get more and more of your audience, like I recommend with my clients as they're building it, my model is that I help people with is getting them on sending 3 emails a week. It's not every day, which a lot of people recommend every day. And I mean, how many email lists are you on? Even if it's just like, shopping or things like that, especially online platforms, you're getting emails on a daily basis. And guess what? You don't look at those emails every day. What do? You swipe and delete, swipe and delete. But the point is guess what? You're top of mind, because guess what happens is when all of a sudden you're redoing your bathroom like we're doing now, and all of a sudden, hayneedle.com or, wayfair.com sends you that daily email. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, Wayfair, or whatever it is, the millions of them that I'm signed up for right now as I'm doing these home projects. And as I'm looking for a mirror or as I'm looking for a towel rack, guess what? They pop up and it's like 50% off, etc. And next thing you know, I'm shopping on Wayfair and I buy the rack. Why? Because the timing was right. But guess what? Prior to that, 365 days or 2 years even, right? I'm still on their email list, but it wasn't relevant for me. I just deleted it every single day. Why did I stay on that email list? Well, maybe just because, maybe I didn't have a good reason. Maybe I just didn't unsubscribe, or maybe I just knew at some point I'm going to need or utilize that information. And guess what? When the timing's right, they show up. And all of a sudden, that email is relevant for me. And guess what? I click over and I buy. And that's no different for us. We just have a different product. It's a service-based product called coaching, right? And we just happen to market in a different way. We're not just marketing sales and specials. We're marketing education. We're marketing content like I'm doing here as I'm helping you as you go through this transition. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Those of you that are watching live, I'm going to go to the thread in just a second and answer those questions. If you have any questions, so go ahead in the thread in the comments down below and you can start typing some questions. I'll interact with you there. If you're watching the recording of this, well, that's all we have. So I'll see you soon.